Well, good morning and welcome to the show. Jeff Beals here at your service. Thank you for joining us. We are brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center with 4 metro area locations, along with Cheer Athletics, the nation's #1 all-star cheer gym. You won't find another show in the metro area that talks about what we discuss, and that is business expansion, real estate, construction, economic development, really anything related to Omaha becoming bigger, more vibrant, and more prosperous. Now, without any further ado, it's a moment that 2 or 3 of you have been waiting for, the introduction of my co-host, a man who is a legendary real estate deal maker from NAI, NP Dodge Commercial Real Estate, Trenton Bradley Magid.
Thanks, Jeff, I think. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, good morning, Trenton. And we've got a lot of news to talk about. And first thing before we get to the news is we have a Grow Omaha Eats restaurant review every 2 weeks. Chris Corey writes one of our Grow Omaha Eats restaurant reviews in which he gives a thorough examination to one of Omaha's fine eating and drinking establishments. And these reviews are always brought to you by Allmakes, the outstanding, legendary office furniture and technology store at 25th and Farnham in downtown Omaha. Allmakes has been making Omaha a better place to work for decades and decades. They also have locations in Lincoln, Des Moines, Iowa, a few other places. At any rate, this week we went through Burdock and Bitters. This is in the Marriott Hotel, and the review is very positive, just so you know. Chris really liked it. But one of the angles this review takes is you wouldn't necessarily think of going to Burdock and Bitters because it's in the Marriott. Trent, I've actually been there for a couple breakfast meetings over the years, and I thought, it's a very good breakfast, but you wouldn't think of going there. I thought it was just a hotel place. No, it actually is a very impressive dinner locale.
Good restaurants in hotels kind of get the short end of it because people just don't think about going to the hotels. But there's been some good restaurants, and sometimes they have their own separate entrance and stuff. That kind of helps. But it's good, though, that people should try those, and it has nothing to do with whether they're in a hotel or not. And the nice thing about Chris Corey's reviews is that he's so thorough, he uses utensils and everything.
Well, that's recommended. And my guess is Burdock and Bitters would prefer all the patrons to use utensils unless they're ordering finger food. You can read about Burdock and Bitters and all of Chris Corey's Grow Omaha Eats restaurant reviews simply by going to growomaha.com. When you get there, click on reviews on the navigation bar, and they'll be right there. We also have our movie reviews on there as well. It's time for our News of the Week, and that is brought to you by Eagle Mortgage. Eagle Mortgage is under the steady leadership of Holly Schneidewand. She's got a team of mortgage brokers and support staff that do an outstanding job of helping you finance your house. I mean, it's a big deal, right? For most people, the biggest thing you ever buy is a house, and it is the American dream. So if you're thinking about buying a new house, one of your very first steps should be to talk to Eagle Mortgage. They're located at 114th and Davenport. You can find them online at eaglemortgagecompany.com. Doesn't matter whether you're going to go conventional loan, FHA, VA, some of the specialty loans, Eagle Mortgage can help you with that.
It's the season.
It really is. I mean, it's just amazing how much home buying happens this time of year. And there are still some circumstances that we're hearing where people will find themselves in a competitive situation with the house they're interested in. And if you got a pre-approval letter from Eagle Mortgage, you really got yourself in pretty good shape.
It's a great place to start because they also help educate you on what to look for, and you're going to be ready for the market.
Well, the latest Fortune 500 list came out earlier this week, and Omaha still is very well represented. Of course, the Fortune 500 is a listing of the 500 biggest U.S.-based companies based on gross revenue. So the 2025 list is looking at 2024 revenue. We had 4 Omaha companies make the Fortune 500, the same 4 as last year. They are number 6 in the nation, Berkshire Hathaway, Warren Buffett's company, gross revenue of $371 billion.
Yowzer.
Checking in next at number 177 is Union Pacific, $24.3 billion. Kiewit is the 247th largest corporation in America with just under $17 billion. And the 299th largest corporation in America with $14.6 billion Mutual of Omaha. Trenton, we had 3 additional companies make the Fortune 1000, Valmont, First National Bank, and Werner Enterprises. Now, as we like to do every year when this list comes out, we want to analyze how does Omaha compare with others. Well, first of all, those 8 Fortune 1000 companies in Omaha, the only ones in the entire state of Nebraska. Iowa only had 2. Principal Financial in Des Moines and Casey's, the convenience store chain in Ankeny.
In the 500 or 1,000?
That's in the both. Yeah,
Okay.
They only had 2 in the whole 1,000, but both of those happen to be in the 500. Wyoming and South Dakota, border states, have 0. Of all the border states, Kansas only has 4, Missouri 19, and Colorado has 24 Fortune 1000 companies.
Well, First National Bank, I mean, they're a private company. Think about that for a second.
Well, yeah, there's several private companies on the Fortune 500, like Cargill is legendary for being a huge
probably.
privately owned one. Yeah. But to kind of give you an idea, so Berkshire Hathaway, number 6 biggest company in the entire United States with $371 billion. Number 1 is Walmart. Okay. And you think, okay, Berkshire, number 6, $371 billion, Warren Buffett, legendary. Walmart made $310 billion more than
Wow.
Berkshire Hathaway. So the drop from number 1 to number 6 is $310 billion.
Well, I mean, Walmart's just an amazing story, but Berkshire Hathaway being diversified in all kinds of different companies, it definitely puts Omaha on the map, and Nebraska. He's wonderful for our community.
We have a full-blown article on the Fortune 500 and Fortune 1000 companies in Omaha with a lot of analysis on growomaha.com. When you get to the navigation bar, just click on News, drop down, hit Stories, and you've got it. A couple construction things to be aware of. The Frame is a 5-story, $44 million multifamily apartment building with 10,000 square feet of retail on the ground level. It is under construction in Millwork Commons, north downtown, just west of the Ashton building. That building is now up to the 2nd floor with its framing. The framing should go pretty fast now that you get up above the concrete level.
So one figure you like to quote is when, what was it, like in 1981 or something, when they built all of the ConAgra's campus?
Probably right about, I think,
million?
1988, 89, it was $60 million.
$60 million. So one apartment complex in Miller Commons
One building, yeah.
is $44 million.
Yeah. One building that's 5 stories in Millwork Commons is more than 2/3 of what the entire ConAgra campus cost when they constructed it.
Wow.
Your history lesson today. Hey, Clarkson College held a groundbreaking ceremony this past week for a $10 million construction project that will include a new welcome center, skywalk connecting the 2 existing buildings, and a large outdoor digital video board. Real cool stuff. You're going to see a lot of activity in that whole area because the Med Center is right there. And there was just a thing before the planning board where the Med Center, Nebraska Medicine more specifically, wants to build a 4-story clinical building on the southeast corner of 42nd and Farnham. Clarkson Regional Health Services and Nebraska Medicine are kind of at odds on that.
Do they call that the mug handle or something, the road?
The jug handle. Yeah,
Jug handle.
This would be just east of the jug handle, but part of this means the jug handle is going away and it's not going to be needed because they're reconfiguring those streets there. But the streetcar is going to go through there. So you're going to see a lot of activity in that Clarkson, UNMC, Nebraska Medicine area, not the least of the activity projects. We are in the very early stages of the $2.2 billion hospital.
I think the naysayers are going to be pleasantly surprised whether they admit it or not. There's going to be a lot of people riding that streetcar.
Oh gosh, yeah, that thing will be a big hit. And frankly, from a Grow Omaha perspective, Trenton, even more important than the ridership is the amount of collateral, wealth, and real estate development and business activity that it will create. And it'll be, mark my words, a lot. We keep hearing rumblings of a lot of projects from small to medium to huge that are planned or being contemplated along this streetcar route. You ain't seen nothing yet, ladies and gentlemen. Well, we also want to talk about a cool little project that also is a quality of life deal. The city of Omaha is improving 2 parks south of downtown Omaha. The city recently completed the Carlentini Plaza at Dolman Park in the Little Italy neighborhood. The plaza is named after Omaha's sister city in Italy and commemorates our own Little Italy neighborhood. And additionally, this week, the city council approved a $265,000 contract to demolish and rebuild the park's playground, basketball court, and sand volleyball court. Then the other one is Lynch Park near 20th and Center. It's undergoing a $2.5 million renovation. Part of that project included a skate park, which opened Memorial Day weekend.
Did you see the Benson Little League is getting a $4 million plus facelift from Sherwood Foundation?
Oh, that's pretty cool.
That's pretty neat. Then you got a $13 million playground at Lauritsen Gardens. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, the Sophia's playground, very, very impressive. And we've had a couple people say, geez, $13 million seems a lot for a playground. It is. This is not your average playground.
Right.
Yeah, we have some photos of that on the Grow Omaha Facebook page. And you would not believe what this is like. This is not your average playground. It's very impressive.
It's free, but I mean, you'd think that would bring a lot of people and take up a lot of parking.
Well, I think you have to pay to get into Lauritsen Gardens.
Is it within the park? I mean,
I guess I don't know.
Yeah,
We think
we'll take that call.
Okay, we think it is inside the Lauritsen Park, so not free. But that thing was privately funded. Like so many of these awesome attractions we have in Omaha, they are so often either completely or largely privately funded. That's another example.
Yeah, and people don't realize there's a lot of free opportunities in Omaha, and one of the nicest is Jocelyn Art Museum with their expanded wing. Just amazing. I just got back from Washington, D.C. for the weekend, and going into all these federal museums are just amazing.
Yeah, speaking of Jocelyn, I've been in that new part twice now, and it's just shockingly awesome. And of course, the historic part of the museum is as good as it ever is. Hey, one last story we want to hit you with, and it's literally based on a story I said earlier. We had that Fortune 500 company in Omaha story on growomaha.com. We've got another one that just dropped last night. Or no, this one just dropped, maybe 2 nights ago. It says, how important is Omaha among the world's major cities? Well, Trent and I would say it's very important. It's our favorite one. It's where we live. But according to a thing called the Global City Importance Model, which is a fascinating study, Omaha is the 54th most important city in North America and the 49th most important city in the United States. And most of this is, generally it corresponds to the size of the city. So your size ranking is not too far off from your importance ranking, but not in every case, because the author of this study looked very closely into 4 dimensions, a lot of data points, but basically it comes down to economic, political, cultural, and demographic issues to determine the most important cities in the world and in all the regions. It goes through the entire world. In fact, the 5 most important cities in the world are New York, Washington, Beijing, London, and Tokyo. That does not surprise me.
I wonder if Los Angeles is on there.
Well, you got to realize Los Angeles, because of its entertainment and cultural impact, drives a great deal of the way the world thinks because it has so much.
Do you think it was in the top 10? Do you remember?
What do you mean? I just said it was in the top 5.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah, I just said that. That's what I said.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Remember I said New York, Washington, Beijing, London, and Tokyo. And then we got to Los Angeles at number 8.
I missed that part.
Okay. No, I actually didn't say it. I was just messing with you. But it is number 8. Yeah. Okay. So how does Omaha compare? Number 49 in America and number 54 in North America. How does it compare to some other cities around here? Minneapolis is 17th. Denver is 19th. St. Louis is the 25th most important city in North America. Kansas City is 36, Omaha 54. But then right after us, Tulsa, Des Moines, Iowa, Colorado Springs, Madison, Wisconsin, Lincoln, number 88. And get a load of this, Lincoln is right ahead of Wichita by 10 spots, and Lincoln is a lot smaller than Wichita.
We'll take it.
So Lincoln is kicking Wichita's butt, even though Wichita has probably like a couple 100,000 more people. All right, that is your news of the week, brought to you by Eagle Mortgage, and we are going to We're going to get back right into it. When we come back, we're going to talk about commercial real estate stuff, specifically the retail and office markets. Our guest will be Mary Purcell. She is one of our colleagues at NAI NP Dodge, so stay with us. Mary's discussion is coming up next. You're listening to Grow Omaha, brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center, along with Cheer Athletics on News Radio 1110 KFAB. And welcome back to the show. Jeff Beal sitting next to Trenton Magid. We're brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center, along with Cheer Athletics, located near Highways 50 and 370 in Papillion. Well, we like to talk real estate every once in a while, and Trenton and I have brought in one of our colleagues from NAI NP Dodge. Her name is Mary Purcell. One of our brokers who, like a lot of our brokers, will help you with any type of commercial real estate, but she has a specialization area, loves working with retail and office. Mary, first of all, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Good to have you with us. And you are still relatively new with NAI NP Dodge. You started with us around Christmas time, but you've been in the business for several years now.
Yes, yeah. I had the privilege of starting right when COVID hit, so that was when I got started.
So you're slow rolling it.
Easy into
it was
real
an
estate.
Interesting time. But
you could say that again. Wow,
A little easier now.
a little bit easier now. Well, Mary, let's get into a little bit of nerdy real estate talk, and we'll kind of hit the office market first. You know, a lot of our listeners, love looking at the cool buildings and driving around, and there are not too many buildings in the world that are nicer than a Class A office building, but. So people, whether they work in one or not, are typically interested in it. Kind of give us your opinions about where the office market is these days.
yeah, well, everybody kind of saw the fall of office with COVID, but we're seeing some regrowth, which is great. The growth that we've been looking for, it seems like it's hitting this year. We're starting to see numbers that we saw back in 2019. And here in Omaha, education and health services have kind of held steady, and in the last year, we've seen 4,000 new jobs in the Omaha area, almost 4,000 new jobs alone in the last year in education and health services alone. So we're lucky there in that we have certain industries that are really keeping us alive. But overall, nationally, we're also seeing an increase that we have been waiting for.
Good point. And when Jeff says there's nothing like a great Class A office building, I would say it's a lot better if it's full.
Especially if you own it.
Yeah, exactly, and the rent's coming in, and so one of the things we talk about in the office market is shadow space. At least that's what I call it, and a lot of people call it that, and that is office buildings that are leased, but people don't have to show up for work. They're working from home or things like that. So the landlord might be getting rent, but they're concerned about, will that tenant renew? Will the tenant stay? Or they're going to sublease it or whatever. And are you seeing more employees being called back to work in these buildings?
Yes, yeah, we are seeing more people coming back to work. I think there's a little bit of restlessness as well, so people are kind of ready to get back to the office. I think for a little while, it's cozy being at home, being able to have a little more flexibility, but we're getting back into gear, and we're seeing the buildings fill back up and people show back up.
Jeff, do you remember when COVID first started and everybody's like working from home, and people are trying to tell us that productivity increases when they don't have their cube mates and the distractions of people in the office, and I'm like, there's no way that's going to last.
Yeah, I always felt that for some people that was probably the case, but in general, no way, because you have to spend some time in most jobs with colleagues face to face. Like, how do you orient a 22-year-old recent college grad to your company culture and mentor him or her if their only experience with the company is through a Zoom screen while they're sitting in their apartment or their childhood bedroom? It just doesn't work.
Yeah, that's so true. And that you are seeing a lot more depression post-COVID too. And we're seeing a ton of counseling services going into these office spaces. You can't help but wonder if that's kind of because we've isolated ourselves. And I think people are growing a little sick of that and ready to be back around each other.
Yeah, I think hybrid is here. I think hybrid is basically the compromise that the business world has made with its employees, because you have a lot of employees that don't want to go to the office. I mean, if they're honest, they're like, no, I'd rather work from home. Then you have a lot of employees, a smaller number, that want to be there totally. But it seems like there's this magic thing in the middle where people are like, I can handle going into the office and fighting traffic 2 or 3 days a week.
Yeah.
And the company's like, well, it's better than nothing.
But one thing people don't like, especially in upper management, is sharing offices. Everybody likes to be able to close their door and have their windows and everything else, and that makes it pretty hard on efficiencies when an employee is a good employee, but they're like, well, I'll come in 2 or 3 times a week, but I don't want anybody touching my stuff when I'm not there, and so that hurts efficiency. And now it might be good for filling office buildings and things like that, but the models have to be totally changed when people are looking at office.
Yeah, and you see these places where they have kind of these workspaces that don't belong to anyone and people coming in and out, and I think that's shifting as well. I think we tried that. People like having their own spaces.
Mary, let's spend a couple minutes talking about your other specialty in commercial real estate, and that is retail, something that Trent and I also spend a lot of time talking about. Give us your thoughts on the state of the retail market in town right now.
Well, Omaha is a lot more resilient than a lot of other markets. And so even through COVID, we saw a little bit more stability. And our vacancy rate is actually much lower than the national vacancy rate. So it's 3.2% here. The national average is 4.8%. And I understand people are seeing places close, but I think they also need to pay attention to the number of places we see open.
Agree. And people here like to eat out. We're a very foodie town. People have a hard time believing that, but people like to shop local too.
I think if you would have said to any of the three of us in 2020, when the pandemic was going crazy, and then in 2021 when e-commerce was blowing up, that in 2025 the retail vacancy rate would be 3.2%, we would say you're insane or extremely naive. One of the two. But look at it. Retail is probably the ultimate resilient factor or segment of real estate. It's so adaptable.
Well, you're seeing there are still Amazon warehouses. I think there's one in Omaha, but there are across the country. Now they can afford it, but where they built them, but they're still vacant. They thought that COVID was going to last forever, or those upticks were going to last forever, and people wanted to get out and they wanted to shop.
Yeah, what's cool is that Omaha is starting to see those national retailers wanting to come here. We got the Nordstrom Rack, we're getting the Ruth's Chris, all these things that are pretty neat coming to Omaha.
Well, now that the metro is officially over 1 million, you enter the possibility of some national brands that would kind of cross us off the list. Mary, before we wrap up, I want to kind of give you a chance to give us a big picture view of the real estate market in Omaha. When you, as a commercial real estate professional, look forward to the future, why are you excited to be in commercial real estate in this town at this time, and why do you think the market is good in the future this town?
Besides working with me and Jeff.
Yeah, that is a huge perk. I am very lucky to be where I am at NAI and P Dodge, but also in Omaha, Nebraska. We are exploding here. And by 2050, just in the newspaper the other day, they said our population is expected to increase by 36% here, which is huge. And while, we're kind of running out of space, we have plenty of room upwards to grow. So there's going to be a lot of opportunity, and I love watching people's dreams come true, and I love being there to help them with that. So I can't wait.
So that makes Omaha metropolitan area, which is just over 1 million people, that makes it 1.3 to 1.4 million people. Just imagine that. And
in 25 years.
That's kind of my comfort level, Jeff, and I think you said the same thing, not tomorrow, but over the next couple decades.
Yeah, I've always said that a great market size for doing what we do is right about that size. And so Trenton, when we're retired in 25 years, it'll be there.
Yeah, the last year of the show.
Mary will still be working.
The last show, the last year of the show will be called something like Stop Omaha,
Plateau Omaha.
Yeah, I like it.
Mary Purcell, thanks for joining us. Appreciate you giving us your real estate insights today, and we love working with you at NP Dodge.
Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, our colleague Mary Purcell from NAI NP Dodge, broker specializing in retail and office work. Going to take our middle of the show break, and that means the news. And when we come back, we'll have your Noddle Company's commercial real estate development spotlight, and we're also going to talk to you a little bit about the possibility of a public market on the downtown riverfront. Stay with us. You're listening to Grow Omaha, brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center and Cheer Athletics on News Radio 1110 KFAB. And welcome back to the show. Jeff Beals and Trenton Maggot are here with you. The show's brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center, which has 4 metro area locations and is the premier auto body shop in the entire world, along with Cheer Athletics, which is the nation's #1 all-star cheer gym. 15 locations worldwide. One of them, the most important one, is located right here in Papillion, highways 50 and 370. All right, it's time for your Noddle Company's commercial real estate spotlight of the week. This is when we talk about something happening in or around one of the Noddle Company's many developments in town, and there are many. You know, Noddle Companies is famous for Exarban Village, Builders District downtown, so many headquarters buildings like HDR and Valmont's World headquarters, but they also do things all over the world. Well, today, we're going to talk about the Noddle Company's world-famous Exarban Village. And that is where Godega Market opened its second location late last week. Godega Market is a locally owned coffee shop and convenience store. Upscale, though, kind of trendy, urbane, really, really neat stuff. It now occupies the former Zoop space. Zoop was Z-O-U-P. That was the sandwich and soup place. Anyway, Godega Market now in the Zoop space. That is in the ground floor of HDR's global headquarters. The exact address is 1917 South 67th Street. And Godega Market's original location is in the old market right on the northeast corner of 11th and Howard. So tomorrow, Sunday morning, Exarban Village has its awesome farmers market. Maybe while you're at the farmers market, stop in and see the new Godega Market.
Yeah. I don't know if they've announced it yet, but there's something great coming to where Jones Brothers was.
Yeah, I am very excited for that to happen, and I'm pretty sure we don't have permission to say that.
It's named after one of my favorite movies.
But I will tell you this. When Noddle Companies says we're going to go find a cool tenant for one of the premier spaces in Exarban Village, you have reason to be excited.
Absolutely.
And I cannot wait till we get to tell you what that is in a future episode of Grow Omaha. That's your Noddle Company's commercial real estate development spotlight of the week. You can find out more about our sponsor by going to noddlecompanies.com. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm really excited about what we are going to talk about next, and that is public markets. I am, a little bit about me, a huge fan of public markets. I love public markets. Whenever I go to a big city, I go to the public market.
Defined as?
These are gatherings of locally owned businesses. They tend to have a heavy food focus. Usually there is a little bit of a farmer's market component with fresh produce, fresh flowers, things like that.
Big fish market, seafood.
Yeah, there's usually a seafood thing. Then they also have several restaurants with prepared food, little places, almost kind of like, think of a public market as like an indoor year-round farmer's market, but with a fair amount of prepared, ready-to-eat food. But they have craft stores, art stores, and all that. I love public markets, and some of my favorite ones in the country, my numero uno is the Reading Public Market in Philadelphia. I love Pike Place in Seattle. I love the Milwaukee one. There's a pretty darn good one real close to Omaha in Kansas City on the north side of their downtown. At any rate, Heritage Omaha and the Project for Public Spaces have teamed up together and are studying the potential for a year-round public market at the riverfront. This would be like an indoor year-round farmer's market, if you will, but we call them public markets. The survey is they're trying to get this information from Omahans, and there's one part of the survey if you're a general member of the public, and a second one if you are a potential vendor, if you would like to have a potential space in this. Either way, if you're a customer or a would-be vendor, go and take the survey. It's called OmahaRiverfrontMarket.org, not com, org. OmahaRiverfrontMarket.org. Go there, and they want to get your opinion about what this would be like. This is Heritage, guys. This is the group that is behind some of the biggest, most cool projects we have in town. So this is a serious possibility.
And that's a lot of stakeholders at Heritage Omaha. And if they want something done, they'll get it done. Every major project, from the new library at 72nd and Dodge to the Riverfront Park, everything you can imagine, that there's a public-private partnership they're generally involved with.
Yes. So get on there and take that survey and then dream about what life might be like if Omaha has a very cool public market on the riverfront along the streetcar. It could be pretty darn cool.
The other thing would be cool too is because everything downtown really needs to be vertical, given that limited on the amount of land, and there are some green spaces there on the riverfront. And if they build something vertical with either apartments or condos or mixed use, entertainment above or whatever, and then had a great view of either the river or the lake, that'd be awesome.
I sure hope that is a part of it as well. That would be pretty darn impressive. Well, I got to tell you, Trenton, you said you were in D.C. last weekend, right?
Yes, sir.
Did you happen to notice the middle part of the Epley Airfield Terminal building?
It's amazing.
It's gone. Remember, folks, when they divided the terminal into two temporarily back in, well, I think that was February or March, and you had to know. You had to know whether your airline was in the south or the north terminal. And I'm telling you, we went yesterday and took a picture. The middle part of the old terminal is history. It has been torn down. It has been removed. There's just a little rubble of concrete there. And you think to yourself, why are they doing that? Well, because they're going to build a new central pavilion in there, a grand entrance and a security checkpoint. And if you go to growomaha.com and look at projects, there's a photo of it, and you can see from the parking garage all the way to the new concourse that's being built in the background. Big changes.
They're kicking butt. I dropped off Amy at the airport this morning when it was still dark out, and they were working.
They're working even when it's dark. That's pretty impressive.
Absolutely.
All right, we're going to take our final break of the hour, and when we come back, it is going to be time for your Perkins Kreitzer Construction Lightning Round, in which we talk about a lot of things very fast. I'm looking at the list, and there are a lot of things on it, so stay with us. You're listening to Grow Omaha, brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center, Cheer Athletics, and Perkins Kreitzer Construction on News Radio 1110 KFAB. Alrighty then, it is your Perkins Kreitzer Construction Lightning Round. A lot of things really fast. Thank you to Perkins Kreitzer Construction for making this possible. And you know what? Perkins Kreitzer Construction makes a lot of things possible, namely buildings. They build a lot of them. They build them really nice looking, and they work with clients on budget and timing. They do such a fantastic job. If you need a building, whether it's for personal reasons, investment reasons, or for your business, go ahead and give a shout out to Perkins Kreitzer Construction. Dave Kreitzer runs the place. We've really gotten to know Dave well over the years. Such a good guy of integrity, and just as important, he knows what he's doing. Been in the business for well north of 3 decades, as have so many of his superintendents, project managers, administrators, and other members of the team. Perkins Kreitzer Construction. You can find them online at p-c construction.com. That's p-c construction.com. Well, we've got 4 businesses that are committed to the under construction development northeast of 180th and Maple. The big building to the east side of the project will be Ortho, Nebraska. Among the tenants on the west part of the project, again, northeast corner of 180th and Maple, Smoothie King, LaVinci Nails, and Cross Strain Brewery is going to have some sort of business.
Cross Strain is really growing.
Sephora is getting close to opening at One Pacific Place. Signage has been installed and looks like opening should be pretty quick. All right, a few little food and beverage items for you to consider. Cone Flour Creamery is now open in Old Town Elkhorn on Main Street. Built a new building for it. And Cone Flour is famous for farm-to-cone ice cream. I've had it a few times.
You know what's a good
really
one,
good.
too, is over at Pepperwood, 156 in Dodge, is Betty Ray's. Have you had that?
I have not tried it, but it's out of Kansas City, and that was their second location, the first one by Exarban Village. Mercy Thai opened a second Omaha restaurant this week at 76th and Dodge in the former La Guanaca space. The original Mercy Thai is near 96th and L Street. Now, if some of you are saying, wait, isn't there a Mercy Thai in Council Bluffs? There is. In Riverfront Place, it's my understanding, not affiliated. So the 2 Omaha Mercy Thais are the same company. The one in Council Bluffs has different ownership. Okay, we've got Chipotle Mexican Grill has officially opened in Southport East. This is about 122nd and Giles. They are really close to an existing or previously existing Hampton Inn and Amigos Kings Classic. Do you know Chipotle now has 13 metro area locations?
I believe it. They've been really popular. Some of them are a little bit smaller than the other ones, but it's good product. They've got a honey glaze chicken now that has a little spice to it. It's pretty good.
I like Chipotle, but if they would just decrease the salt by about 92%, I'd like it a little bit better.
That's what my grandma used to say.
That is the saltiest food I've ever had in my life. Other than that, I love Chipotle.
Wow.
Godfather's Pizza plans to build a restaurant in the Coventry neighborhood at the exact address is 20462 R Street. But Coventry is this very large mixed-use development southwest of 204th and Q.
I hope they keep the salt level down over there.
Godfather's salt, I have no problem with.
Okay.
Chipotle, I'm telling you. You know what? One time it dawned on me one day because a few years ago it got saltier. So I Googled salty Chipotle, and there was some worker that said the manager came in and they said, when you're grilling the chicken, I want it to look like there's snow on it. You put so much salt. I'm like,
wow.
That's a lot of salt. Other than that, it's great. Wheatfields Express open for business this week at 18902 Evans Street. That's basically 189th and Maple. They got an end cap space with a drive-through. So it's kind of like the big Wheatfields in One Pacific Place, but smaller with a drive-through.
A lot of the talk is up there where you're talking is Fleet Farm. We talked about it for years. They looked at Omaha for several years, and now they own two lots, and they're not coming up. One on West Maple, one on 192nd and Highway 370. So we'll see what fills those big lots.
Sprinkled Joy is opened at 9821 Giles Road in La Vista, locally owned custard shop. And then Summer Kitchen Cafe in Sterling Ridge is doubling in size, taking over the bay to the west. Work is underway. We also have Jersey Mike Subs opened this week in Westwood Plaza, 123rd and Center. And then Sherwin-Williams is adding a paint store in Elkhorn. This would be on 210th Street, just a little bit north of Dodge, kind of by that Union Bank and Trust Sports Complex.
I really like the salt content of Pickleman's.
Vera Mercer is the owner of La Bouvette Wine and Grocery in the Old Market. She has closed Bouvette Delicatessen. This was a separate bay, but a related business next door. La Bouvette staying open. In fact, La Bouvette is taking over the former Delicatessen space and integrating it into
So they'll
La
have more
Bouvette.
Seating and retail, huh?
Yeah, and maybe special events or something
That'd be
like
great.
that. So anyway, last thing, the music's playing, but Get Real Sandwiches closing June 8th in the Blackstone District on Farnham Street. All right, that's it for this week. I'm Jeff Beals.
And I'm Trenton Magid.
You've been listening to Grow Omaha, brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center, Cheer Athletics, and Perkins Kreitzer Construction. We'll chat with you next week at 9 o'clock right here on Nebraska's Superstation, The Torch, News Radio 1110 KFAB. If you like this video, be sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons. And remember, Grow Omaha is not just media. This is a mission. We are trying to build up Omaha and make it an even better place. We can only do that with your help. Share this video with your friends, neighbors, and family.